HOA president broke in while I was hunting my wife, caught it all on camera. My name's Dean Pritchard. I'm not one for drama. I moved to Pine Hollow for the peace-wooded lots, neighbors who mostly keep to themselves, and land big enough for my two hounds to stretch out without bothering anyone. My wife, Ellie, and I moved here 3 years ago after I left active duty. We wanted space to breathe, raise our son, and maybe live a little slower. Pine Hollow was supposed to be quiet, safe, normal. We didn't know there was a fake HOA already rooted like mold under the surface, led by a woman named Tammy Lively, the self-proclaimed president of a homeowners association that didn't legally exist. I didn't know the full truth until she broke into my house while I was away on a hunting trip, and Ellie caught the entire thing on our security system and, more chillingly, on her iPhone. That footage changed everything. It shattered illusions, and it tore open a battle for justice that would eventually bring in law enforcement, federal agents, and the media. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it all began. If you had asked me in those early weeks what I thought about Pine Hollow, I would have said it was perfect. No traffic, no street lights blaring into the windows, no noise. The kind of place where you wave to your neighbors, maybe help one load lumber into a truck, and then go back to your own slice of solitude. That's how it was until Tammy Lively showed up on our porch with a clipboard, a plastic badge, and an attitude that could curdle milk. It was a Sunday morning. I just finished setting up a new tree stand behind the property and was hosing mud off my boots when Ellie called me inside. "Dean," she whispered, "there's a woman outside asking for you. Says she's from the HOA. I frowned. "We don't have an HOA. She shrugged. "You want to tell her that I stepped out to meet Tammy? Late 50s, bleach blonde hair in a stiff wave, red lipstick too bright for the morning light. She had that kind of posture you see on people who demand to be obeyed just by showing up. "I'm Tamara Lively," she said, flashing the badge. "President of the Pine Hollow Property Preservation Association, your HOA. I looked at the badge. It was printed on printer paper, laminated and hole-punched with a lanyard from a convention. I tried not to laugh. "Sorry, ma'am," I said. "There's no HOA here. That's one of the reasons we moved out this far." She squinted at me like I'd spit on her shoes. "We've been operating in this neighborhood for 12 years. She snapped. "It's not optional. You're subject to the same codes as everyone else." I crossed my arms. "What codes?" She whipped a stapled packet out of her purse and handed it to me. "No outbuildings without pre-approval. No flags taller than 6 feet. No commercial vehicles parked on premises. No unregistered firearms. No hunting within 100 yards of a residence. No dogs outside between 8 p.m. and 6 m. No visible trash cans. No political signs. No more than one vehicle per adult." I blinked. "You've got to be kidding me." "I'm deadly serious," she said, taking a step closer. "And I'll need your $225 association fee by the end of the month." I handed the packet back. "Yeah, that's not going to happen." Her eyes narrowed. "Then we're going to have a problem." I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The silence said everything. She stormed off without another word. It escalated quickly from there. 2 days later, Ellie found a notice of violation taped to our mailbox with the HOA logo on top. Unauthorized structure deerblind. The next day, another notice for improper use of property recreational hunting. Then one for animal nuisance. Then one for unauthorized flagpole because I flew a Marine Corps flag under the Stars and Stripes. Tammy started showing up during the day while I was gone. Ellie would find her taking photos of the property, sometimes stepping over the property line, sometimes not even bothering to knock. Once, she caught her looking into the side garage window. I filed a report with the sheriff. They said unless she damaged anything or broke in, there wasn't much they could do. We get complaints about her every few months. The deputy admitted, but nothing sticks. So I installed 3 cameras, front porch, backyard, and side gate. I warned her to stay off my land, told her flat out, to her face, that she had no authority here. That's when the real harassment started. We got strange phone calls, hang-ups, and heavy breathing. Our trash cans were pushed over. Nails showed up in our driveway more than once. Ellie's Jeep got a long, deliberate key scratch right down the driver's side. Then came the letter, certified mail, typed, no signature. Failure to comply with HOA rules will result in enforcement actions. You are being watched. I laughed. But Ellie didn't. Her hands were shaking. And our son, just 3 years old, started saying things like the lady's watching us again. That's when I made the decision. I told Ellie I was going to take a weekend hunting trip to the edge of the state line. Just me, the dogs, and a tent. I'd check the cameras remotely from my phone, and she'd keep her phone close. We'd see if Tammy took the bait. We didn't expect her to break in. We didn't expect her to go that far. But she did. And the footage changed everything. The first motion alert hit my phone at 2:43 p.m. on Saturday. I was sitting beneath a camo tarp about a mile off Forest Route 18, watching a tree line where I'd tracked a buck the day before. Cell reception was patchy, but I'd set the camera notifications to low-res thumbnails for speed. I squinted at the screen as a fuzzy image loaded. Tammy, standing at my back gate, clipboard in one hand, a black tote bag in the other. I zoomed in. She was wearing gloves. I immediately dialed Ellie, but the call didn't connect. Another alert. Now she was at the rear sliding door. The timestamp read 2:46. She was peering inside. I texted Ellie. She's at the door. Get the shotgun. Lock everything. No response. Then the next camera pinged. Tammy was inside. It took a second for my brain to register what I was seeing: our living room in the background, the rug Ellie had picked out, and Tammy moving around like she owned the place. Rummaging, opening drawers. I cursed out loud and threw everything into my pack. No reception, no contact, no clue if my wife and son were safe. By the time I got to the truck and drove a half-mile up to get a signal, my phone had blown up. Ellie had texted me a video. Just one sentence: I got her. All of it. I didn't watch the video right away. I called Ellie. Are you okay? Is Ben okay? I asked, my voice shaking. She sounded breathless, furious. We're fine, she said. I heard the dogs barking and came out with my phone. She didn't see me until she was halfway through the living room. I filmed the whole thing. You call the sheriff. They're on the way. I've already uploaded it to the cloud. You need to get home. Now. When I walked through the door 2 hours later, the deputy was still there. Tammy was gone. Ellie had confronted her mid-break-in. Tammy claimed she was performing an inspection. Ellie didn't back down. She told her to get the hell out while she filmed her face, her hands and the tote bag full of who knows what she'd already taken. The deputy had a copy of the video, so did I, and I finally sat down and watched it. Tammy enters through the back door. No knock, no key, just a crowbar she pulls from the bag. The sound of the latch popping still haunts me. She walks in like it's her home, opens drawers in the hallway, rifles through a filing cabinet Ellie uses for mail and documents, opens the door to Ben's playroom, sniffs the air. When Ellie steps into the frame, her voice shaking, there's a second, just 1 second, where Tammy realizes she's caught. Her face contorts, not with guilt, but with entitlement, like we had done something wrong. You're not allowed to be here, Ellie shouts. I have every right, Tammy screams back. You violated multiple HOA statutes and ignored formal warnings. This is a compliance inspection. I'm collecting evidence for the board. Ellie, there is no board. Tammy, there's always a board. You just don't know who's on it. The sheriff's office took a full report. Tammy was charged with breaking and entering, criminal trespass, and attempted theft. We discovered she had swiped 2 documents, our property survey, and an envelope of cash we kept for emergencies. But even more disturbing was what we found when we looked inside her tote bag, which she dropped when Ellie yelled. It held a printed list of properties in Pine Hollow, notes like dogs, gun owner, unfriendly, and non-compliant, a homemade HOA rulebook marked confidential, and worst of all, a folder labeled Action Plan Phase 2. Inside were printed letters she hadn't sent yet. Due to repeated noncompliance, the HOA reserves the right to enter and inspect any property within Pine Hollow. Future fines and liens may be assessed at our discretion. Liens. She was faking the legal right to put liens on people's homes. Ellie posted the break-in video on Nextdoor, Facebook, and sent it to the local news. It went viral in under 48 hours. Dozens of Pine Hollow residents, people who had been silent, started speaking up. They had gotten the same letters, the same fines. Some had paid, some had moved. All thought they were alone. They weren't. Tammy had been running a fake HOA for years. And now, finally, the mask was off. Once the video spread, everything erupted. It started with neighbors we'd barely spoken to, quiet folks who waved but kept to themselves. They started stopping by our fence. Tammy threatened to fine me for putting in a greenhouse. One woman told Ellie. She said she'd sue me for cutting down an oak on my own lot. Another man said, I paid her $500 just to make her go away. A widow down the street confessed that she had handed over nearly $2,000 in back dues over the past year out of fear she'd lose her home. Pine Hollow had been living under a fog of manipulation, and no one had realized the fog wasn't real. Tammy's game had worked because she was persistent, loud, and completely without shame. She had created a fake infrastructure of authority letterheads, rules, board decisions, even a fake website. She invoked names of people who'd moved or died. She kept everything vague enough to scare just enough people into compliance, feeding off their isolation and fear of legal action. And then came the twist that changed everything. Ellie and I hired a real estate lawyer named Jordan Espinoza Young, sharp, with a fury that came alive when she saw the video. This isn't just a fake HOA, she told us. This is wire fraud, mail fraud, and false claims of government authority. If she used the Postal Service for any of this, she's toast. Jordan did some digging and found that Tammy had registered an LLC 2 years prior, Pine Hollow Preservation, Inc. It wasn't an HOA. It was a shell company, registered to a POO, box 2 towns over. There were no board members listed, no real officers, no meeting notes, no legal standing to enforce anything. Tammy had set up a corporate entity just to sound official. The lawyer filed a complaint with the state attorney general, and Jordan sent letters to every neighbor in Pine Hollow with a summary of findings. She included the county zoning board statement that Pine Hollow had never filed HOA covenants, ever. That's when things snowballed. Within a week, 17 residents filed police reports. A group of 11 families signed onto a civil suit. A local reporter named Carla Bexley ran a piece on Tammy titled, The Phantom HOA President Who Terrorized a Neighborhood. Tammy, she went quiet. Her husband, who no one had seen in years, left town. And then her house was egged. Let me be clear, I didn't support that. I hated what she'd done. But I didn't want mob justice. That's not how we fix things. But the fury was real, and it was justified. You can only gaslight an entire community for so long before the dam breaks. And it did publicly. The county council held a public forum after the story went statewide. They invited Pine Hollow residents to testify, and the local courthouse filled beyond capacity. C-SPAN streamed it. So did half of Facebook. I stood in line for 40 minutes before I got my 5 minutes at the microphone. I'm a veteran, I said. I fought overseas to defend our freedoms, and I came home to find someone trying to take mine with a clipboard and a lie. I paused. She broke into my home. She scared my wife. She threatened my kids' future. And for what power control, a couple $100 a month in fake fines, I looked directly at Tammy, who sat 2 rows back, arms crossed, sunglasses on indoors. You took advantage of good people who just wanted to be left alone. That ends tonight. The room applauded. Others shared their stories. Some wept. And by the end of the night, the sheriff stood up and announced that a full criminal investigation had been opened, with state and federal agencies now involved. Why? Because Tammy hadn't just faked a neighborhood government. She had used certified mail, fake legal notices, bank accounts tied to fraud, and claims of lien power over federally protected property. That moved it into federal jurisdiction. The week after the town hall, Tammy's world imploded. She was served with 9 felony charges, including fraudulent misrepresentation, forgery, impersonating a public official, breaking and entering, mail fraud. The state froze the assets of Pine Hollow Preservation, Inc., her bank account seized, her house listed for foreclosure once she missed the 3rd month of mortgage after the community canceled all her fake dues. And the best part, people who had paid her were starting to get refunds through court-mandated restitution. The court froze her personal assets to reimburse what she had extorted. She tried to claim diminished mental capacity. It didn't work. The footage Ellie took was airtight. So were the paper trails. So was the testimony of 23 residents who had received her compliance warnings. She pleaded no contest. Her lawyer cut a deal. She would avoid jail time only if she surrendered all claims, property, and agreed to permanent banishment from the Pine Hollow neighborhood. She left in a moving van under cover of dawn. No farewell, no apologies, just silence. Tammy left with nothing. No final confrontation, no apology, not even a denial. Just a van, a stack of court summonses, and a shattered illusion of control. It took a few days for the adrenaline to fade, for our neighborhood to realize that yes, this really was over, and that we were going to be okay. We organized a potluck at the old school field across the creek. It was Ellie's idea, her way of turning the wreckage into something real, something good. No one really knew each other. She said, "Let's change that." Dozens came. People who'd lived on the same street for a decade but had never spoken longer than a nod. Parents with kids the same age as Ben. Elderly couples. Veterans. Quiet folks who had been silently bullied by a fake authority for years. We shared food, shared stories, laughed, and we made a pact that day. Informal, but real. No one runs Pine Hollow alone ever again. We didn't replace Tammy's fake HOA with a real one. We didn't need bureaucracy or rule books or dues. What we built was simpler and stronger. A neighborhood watch group where everyone volunteers once a month. A shared tool library so people could borrow hedge trimmers, leaf blowers, ladders, without spending hundreds. A message board at the trailhead where we post everything from community events to elder care requests to found pets. A Saturday fix-it crew vets and retirees who help patch roofs, unclog pipes, or rebuild fences for anyone who asks. No payment, just pay it forward. It was everything Tammy claimed to offer, but built on respect and trust, not fear and lies. It sat crooked at the neighborhood entrance for years. Welcome to Pine Hollow, a private show community preserving our quality of life since 2008. Except no such HOA existed. Tammy had installed it herself, even made the logo. Ellie and I stood there as Ben helped unscrew it, one rusty bolt at a time. Someone spray-painted a cardboard sign and zip-tied it in its place. Welcome to Pine Hollow. No Karen zone, we govern ourselves. Here we laughed. We left it up for a week before replacing it with a clean wooden plaque. Pine Hollow neighbors. First, always. Tammy's plea deal barred her from setting foot within 3 miles of the Pine Hollow boundary. She had to repay $72,000 in extorted fees. She lost her LLC. She lost her realtor license. She lost her name in a way, because now when people search it, they don't see status, they see justice. And not the kind delivered by fire or fists, the kind recorded on a camera, told by a wife who wouldn't be silenced, and carried forward by a neighborhood that said no more. 1 year later, Ben started middle school. Ellie ran for county board and won on a platform of anti-HOA abuse and housing transparency. I still hunt, but I never go without checking our cameras first. And our home. It's safer than it ever was, not because someone watches it for us, but because we all watch out for each other. Tammy tried to fake power. She faked law, order, and legitimacy. But real community, the kind that shows up when it matters, can't be faked. It's earned, one neighbor at a time. Fake authority thrives in silence. Scare tactics work best on people who feel alone. But this story proves something bigger. When people speak up, when communities come together, Justice doesn't just show up, it builds roots. Have you ever dealt with a fake HOA or someone abusing neighborhood power? Do you think communities should self-regulate, or is formal structure necessary? Drop your thoughts below. Let's talk about what justice and real leadership look like together.